I just woke up. I grabbed the camera. I figured I'd show you guys what the trenches look like today. This is just a morning of me building, and not the whole day, just like how I wake up. It is currently sometime around 7 a.m. ish, is my best guess. I hear the birds. I usually just wake up to the sun in my room. No alarm or anything, but that's just me. Alright, now, after just putting a shirt on, it's time to meditate. And, this is the life. I basically live in this box right here. Quite messy. I'm at this standing desk with my ergonomic chair mostly all day. Now it's sit down and meditate time. And then usually I have a meeting right now. I woke up a bit early, so I'm able to film this content. But yeah, a lot of people think monk mode or warrior mode, or you gotta activate some sort of switch, to really get work done, to get on your monk mode stuff, to really feel concentrated for a month or so period. And honestly, what I've realized is that monk mode, or whatever you call this thing, your hyper focus mode, it comes naturally. It just comes from drive. Not necessarily motivation. It's just, at first, it could be motivation, then you kind of just get stuck in the routine of like, all right, you're waking up, you're doing work, and you're only doing income making activities or things that will set you up for income. Basically what happened to me was I got laid off my job, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go after what I've been really meaning to go after, which is my design business for the longest time. I thought that I needed sales before that, and I did need some degree of it, but I got my overall understanding, and I was like, all right, time to really just go in and learn as I go. Worst case, I fail, and then I have to start from ground one, build up a few more skills, and go at it again. That's the worst case possible in my head, And this whole monk mode period I was in was just spurred by that, but at first I didn't enter that. It was still fairly good weather here in Sydney, Australia, so I was like, oh, let me go. I'm locationally free. I can go visit my friends in Melbourne, go visit my friend up in Central Coast, and then even I had friends over in Bali, and I was like, the flight to Bali isn't that bad. Let me just go get a flight to Bali last minute. So that was just the whole shindig there. I mean, I have done an inspired monk mode before where I was just like, all right, I'm activating monk mode now. But even then, I didn't drink, but I still went out. I still socialized. And it just wasn't the most productive it could have been necessarily. And I've noticed in the times where I'm really head to the grindstone, just working, just staring at my laptop all day, it's come naturally to me. It's been in times where I go through something hard and then after I'm trying to recuperate. My last breakup was one of those times where I was gotta flip that switch and just go at it hard. I really had nothing else going for me socially, so I went at it. And this is another one of those times where I'm like, all right, I've put myself in a make or break scenario, so let's just make it happen every day. Take this as a 9-to-5 job. A lot of people see the entrepreneur lifestyle and they're like, oh, I can't work for anyone. I have to go I can't do the 9-to-5. That means I must be an entrepreneur. False. I don't even know if that's true for me. It's about risk, basically. How willing are you to take risks? I would highly suggest listening, if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, listening to a podcast between Scott Galloway and Jordan Harbinger, where Scott Galloway kind of he basically addresses this whole romanticization of starting your own business. And he says there's a test of 2 questions if you're an entrepreneur. All right, I don't even pass this test. And I was just like, all right, we'll see if maybe I up my risk tolerance eventually to that level. The first question is, you're married one day, you're starting another business. Are you okay to ask your in-laws, your spouse's parents, for $50,000? Let that sit with you. Most people are like, you know what, like, I could do that if need be. Yeah, I could. For me, that might be a little scary, but I think maybe I could. Now, here's the next question. So let's say you pass question 1. Next one. 6 months later, you have to go back to your spouse's parents, your in-laws, and say you lost all of your 50 grand. Yeah, so I'm not comfortable with that. That's not me. And maybe I shouldn't be on this path, but you can make a perfectly satisfiable living just working a salary job or a commission-based job, working under someone. You could still get the time and location freedom. If you work a steady job, you're actually more financially free than an entrepreneur who their input equals their output. You're more financially free because you just have that paycheck coming in month to month, whether you did exceptionally well that month or you did a little bit worse that month. It's steady. Or if you're a salesperson, you still have that on input output. It's just more guaranteed. Like, for me, I have clients that don't pay invoices, and then I'm like, all right, shoot, there goes my time. It just happens, So I'd highly consider, if as a designer I wasn't financially capped with the experience I have, like, basically if I went into the market right now for a design job, first off, in Australia, it's really hard for me as an American to get something because they're just like, oh, you're on a certain visa here, you might not be around, you don't have that freedom. And Australia is very much in that they don't have very many remote jobs, I've noticed. So they're very much like work in person. And I want to work in the Australian market, so I'm therefore capped by that, first off. Then another thing is, like, my salary's there. There's no performance. If I work better, unless if I get a raise, I don't necessarily get paid more. So that's why freelance for a lot of designers is what it is. I've noticed that I have a work ethic compared to a lot of other people that's just absurd. Even at my sales jobs, they were like, all right, your work ethic is matched to none. Sadly, your skills aren't there, but work ethic's there. So I noticed, like, I naturally put in, 12-hour days. There are entrepreneurs that put in 14, all right? I'm going to be honest with myself. I don't put in 14, I put in 12. And then I should get compensated for those 12-hour days, so that's why I decided to go on a freelance path, because there is more money in it. And if you're a designer, definitely do that if you are willing to and open to the risk. Some people want to climb that corporate ladder, and then that's also more of the way to be in charge of a team. I might not be in charge of a team or ever long into my career as a designer. While if you climb this agency ladder, you can be in charge of a team within probably, like, if you're a good designer, 5 years, if you have what it takes. So, and also this just provides me more of an opportunity to get my portfolio up, as I'm not the best designer in the room, but I am really good at networking compared to a lot of people. So I've decided to leverage that skill more so and use that for my design business. So, also another thing that spurred this monk mode is simply the weather. It's getting colder out here. It's actually one of the few days where I can wake up and put a t-shirt on. I've usually been putting a hoodie on first thing. And that's the same thing that happened with my last, really hardcore work mode. I was in Miami and I flew back to New York, and it's winter in New York. And that just, I know my body. I'm more likely inclined to stay inside. I love being outside. Like, if anyone were to tell you, I absolutely love it. I try to work outside when I can. But it's just, here, I notice my body is just more inclined to look at a computer. I'm naturally put here. There are some days, like yesterday, I didn't leave the premise of my house. I like briefly walked out in the yard a couple of times, but I did not leave my gates, basically. And there are days like that where you have no other human contact. If you're living alone, if you aren't living alone, you only have the human contact of your roommates, which is why I like having roommates. It stops me from going insane, because I definitely would just sit here in silence all day and just only talk to the camera, of course. But that's just kind of like what it's like being in the trenches, you know? There are days where you just cut off everyone and you go hard at it. And people are social beings, you know, that's just the truth of it. And that's why I try to make my life as social as I can without being distracting. But yeah, I do have to get better personally at saying no to things. That's one thing that I really had to get better at, is when people invite me out to things, I have to be like, all right, no, I'm not going to do that. So today's the last day of May, and tomorrow is the first day of June. So I've dedicated June to uploads every day. I've already kind of started that habit, and we're already kind of in the rhythm of things, you know? Like, I haven't missed an upload yet, but I'm going to commit to also not drinking all of June. Not a single sip of alcohol, because just I've been hearing it in podcasts over and over again. And when I hear it in multiple podcasts telling me not to drink, I'm like, all right, shoot, it's time to take a month off. This is just something naturally that happens. It isn't like, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money in June, therefore I'm not going to drink. No, it's just something naturally that the universe has been telling me. Same thing with like this work mode, you know? Weather was getting colder. I had no more excuses to travel anymore. I was like, all right, time to get a standing desk and just hustle for a month. And that's what the month of May was. And I'm actually very proud of my progress through the month of May. I've learned more about business in the last 4 weeks than I have in my life, basically. I feel like I've progressed more as a person. And a lot of people tell you that that's what it's really about. It's just your internal state is your external reality. If you grow yourself as a person, your business is going to grow. Yeah, business is just self-development in a financial standpoint. So I guess that's why I was driven to it. All this self-development stuff I've been doing is kind of came to this point where it's like, all right, now I got to put a measurement on it. So that's where we're going into. I mean, this month has been about making a lot of money, and it's coming to a close. And next month is going to be, I'm declaring it now, it's just about going to be creating impact, you know. Last month was financial, this month is keeping that financial, having it level there, and then impact, and then we'll scale up from there. I want people to hear this message. I've been taking my Twitter more seriously, so I mean, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I believe it's talon.in.color. No, talon_.in. talon_in_color. Yeah, so feel free to follow that. You can just check it out on my Hobie. But there's nothing else more. Don't try to force these monk modes. That's just my one piece of advice. They come naturally. Everyone has their own like protocol to it. My protocol is basically don't wake up to an alarm, get good sleep, take a meeting first thing in the morning, and then let that energy spur you into the day. That's basically how I get motivation to wake up. So I'm like, oh shit, gotta cut that. I'm like, oh, I promised someone else my time, first thing in the morning, my time. So I gotta respect that, give them my time, then hopefully they pump me for a day of work. Sometimes they don't always, and then I just go into work right after that. I don't go to the gym every day. As I said yesterday, I was pretty like lazy and just stayed in and worked. But that's what it sometimes looks like. A lot of people are like, oh, like you're 45 minutes of running. They do the 75 hard challenge, and I've noticed those kind of just tire you out, where you're focusing on too many things. I always have my one priority every day that I try to get done. Sometimes I actually don't get them done, and that's how I know it isn't a successful day. I know it's a successful day when I've gotten my one thing to do done, and I tend to do that thing first thing. So hopefully this video helped you if you are building some sort of business, whether that's a software company, service-based product. It isn't all glamour and glitz. I haven't even shaved. Like, I actually should probably shave for the rest of my videos, and I will do that. Feel free to watch this video over here. It goes more into why I'm taking this 30-day challenge of just releasing videos. It's going to be over 30 days in the end. Watch it, enjoy. It's a good one. Have an epic day, y'all.